What is up, Internet? My name is Brando, and welcome to Dungeon Dorks, a video series where we talk anything and everything Dungeons & Dragons. On this inaugural episode, we're going to discuss one of the most frequent questions that I get regarding D&D, and that being, what is the hardest part about being a Dungeon Master? It's a great, big question that I get from both longtime players and total beginners interested in dipping their toes into dungeon mastering. So today, I'm going to be giving you guys the 4 biggest challenges that I and fellow DMs and GMs have had to face, and offer you guys some possible solutions. Now, before we dig into it, I'll quickly preface, what is hardest for you is obviously going to be heavily contingent on your own DMing style, the players at your table, and a whole host of chaotic variables.
I cast Fireball.
So while these suggestions might not solve all of your role-playing problems, I hope that at the very least that this discussion can help guide your games in a more positive and fulfilling direction. So, jumping right into it, the first challenge we're going to tackle is... D&D prep can seem really daunting, especially if this is going to be your first session. After all, you're responsible for keeping track and presenting a sizable volume of information. The narrative structure, details about the settings, NPCs, dungeon layouts, keeping track of your player's progress, it's a lot. My philosophy on D&D prep is best summarized in the form of a Dwight D. Eisenhower quote: "Plans are useless, but planning is indispensable." There's no denying that preparation is an essential part of the DMing process, but the stress and sometimes resulting feelings of burnout that DMs deal with when preparing for their games comes often from trying to over-prepare. It can be really tempting to try and internalize every aspect of whatever role-playing game you're running, but it can also lead to a couple of problems. One, it's just unrealistic and cumbersome to try and memorize 100% of every detail for every session. Plus, this might make your campaign plots too rigid because you're going to be trying to execute on a very meticulously planned script. I think one of the best things that you can do for yourself during preparation is to find ways to spend less time making more notes and find ways to make your notes more effective. Center your efforts around only the most relevant information, with a few exceptions, and learning to do this well comes from understanding yourself and your players. Take stock of the best ways that you retain information, and where your group of players are currently in the story. What's most pertinent narratively at this moment? What's a realistic expectation of where they might take the story today? As you gain more experience and spend more time with your players, their respective playstyles will help inform you of where they might take the story, and in turn guide you towards what you should spend more time preparing for. Even though they will always without a doubt surprise you every single time. Which leads us to our second challenge. This is a large, inevitable part of the DM experience, and the players are constantly going to be doing things that catch you off guard and make you go, okay. For many, this unpredictability can be scary. How do you adapt? How do you prepare? Well, firstly, don't deny your players their actions. Unless they're doing something that's completely ridiculous, that's infeasible, or that doesn't fit within the setting, for the most part, for a majority of the time, you're going to want to let them go along with their decisions, as up and as weird as they may be, because honestly, that unpredictability is part of the thrill of role-playing games, and learning to ride the waves of what your players throw at you will be some of the most informative moments for you as a storyteller. I personally love the symbiotic creative process that comes between the back and forth between me and my players as we carve out a new part of the story. And on that note, try to avoid as best as you can railroading your players. I've seen plenty of DMs get frustrated when their players tend to veer a little bit from the main plot, but there's nothing wrong with them exploring these tangential elements. You can always guide them back to the main story at a later time, and the fact that they have that choice at all, that they could be face to face with the big bad of the campaign, but still decide to be like, "Hey, you remember that guy Dave the farmer we helped like 3 weeks ago? Of course I remember him. Why do you ask? Yeah, let's go see what he's been up to." That ability to choose is truly amazing. It's what makes role-playing games their own unique genre within gaming, because everything, nearly everything, is fluid. What can also be fluid in a far more inconvenient way is... This is probably the least sexy part of the DMing process, your role in coordinating when the group actually plays. It's no secret that the logistics of getting people to gather together for an event once is difficult enough, but getting 3 to 6 people to gather together on a regular basis during a pandemic, even online, can be a quest in and of itself. Not even a wish spell can undo some of the realities that cause struggles with scheduling. However, there are a few things that can help. Chiefly among them, you're going to have to find the right mix of people. That might sound inherently obvious, but it's not always so simple. You might be running a game with 3 of your closest friends and you guys have an absolute blast when you do get to play. But your schedules are so wildly different that you only get to play every 3 to 5 months. Now, this isn't exactly a problem if you accept this as the standard, but if you want to play more regularly, you're going to have to find a good mix of friends who have similar availability and are willing to make that time commitment. Keep things consistent. It's much easier to attend a standing appointment every Friday at 6 p.m. than if things keep changing week to week. It's also important to stay flexible because life happens and sometimes you have to shift the day and the time that you play, but overall, maintaining a continuous time for when your group is able to meet will go a long way in mitigating your critical failures in scheduling. Once you've finally gotten everyone together, that's when you can start dealing with. This is a very touchy and complex topic that deals with inner player and game master relationships and dynamics. There's no way I could cover all of the problems that could arise in this category in just this small summary, but I'll highlight a few things that I've encountered and discussed the most. Firstly, a player's experience with one group, with one GM, with one type of role-playing game will be vastly different from another. A difference in expectations can lead to some friction, if not the occasional disagreement. With regards to that, I think that it's vital that you and your players sit down and discuss before beginning a campaign what the playstyle is going to be. Is it expected to be more RP heavy or more combat heavy? Is it a political thriller set in a space opera?
Or is it a gritty take Luke Diablo style dungeon crawl?
Is it a high-powered campaign? Is it a lower-powered campaign? Is it a whodunit mystery? Having that understanding from the get-go can nip any misconceptions down the line in the bud and form the basis for future conversations about adjustments you want to make to the game in the future. Another thing for you players out there, be appreciative if not respectful to your dungeon masters and game masters. If you couldn't tell by now, they take a lot of their free time creating this world and this experience for you, the player, to enjoy, often thanklessly. When you're at the table, be attentive, try and listen, and try not to distract from the moment at hand. Your DMs put in all this time and effort, it's the least that you can do. Still feel free to speak up regarding clarifications, or to debate a rule with your DM, or to remind them of something that they might have forgotten. But just know that your DM or GM has a final say. They may be altering elements of the system or a rule to fit within their story. Don't get too argumentative about this, and if it becomes something that's really personal or that bothers you that much, talk with each other about it after the game. Communication is the key, guys. Inversely, GMs and DMs, be respectful and appreciative of your players. They're the essence of your game. They bring the story to life and essentially allow you to scoop them up and bring them within your imagination, and that takes a lot of faith and a lot of trust. Show equal attention to all of your players. Even if one person likes to take charge or is a heavier role player, doesn't mean you just focus on them. Your other players may just need some time to warm up to the game or just want to contribute in different ways, but either way, you can still give them moments to shine or coax them slowly to come out of their shell. That's everything we're going to dissect today. I hope that this video helps all of you GMs and future GMs out there to find some ways to make your games as fun as possible. Thank you so much for watching. You can expect more of these videos on the Brando YouTube channel, and as always, have a good day, have a good life, and I'll see you on the next one.